All right, all right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We saw a good evening from Kevin Hawthorne in Florida. We got a good afternoon for California and West Coasters. And depending on when you're listening to this, whether it's live or replay, we're going to talk about the real estate market. I'm excited to have a couple of guys who are active in real estate, which is important because, if your aunt's friend's cousin is doing real estate and closed the last transaction 3 months ago, might not have a finger on a pulse like these guys, might not have skin in the game like these guys. So I guess we'll just start. First, thanks for being on, and give us a little bit about who you guys are, what you guys are actively doing. Let's talk some real estate.
For sure, man. Thanks for having us on. So we're local fix and flip home buyers here in the Sacramento area. We do some wholesaling, have a decent rental portfolio. My wife and I also have a traditional sales team helping, buyers and sellers and things like that. But the main focus is fix and flips, and been adopting a wholesale method with the market shift in the past 12 months, for sure.
For sure. You're the muscle, Chad?
I'm just his bodyguard, man.
He's the enforcer. He's the closer too, man. He's the closer. Might be the brains of the operation, and he's the enforcer. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I like to when I talk to people about real estate, they always feel like you're a mortgage broker, so you're biased. It's always a good time to buy. You're always sunny on real estate. But I think that the perspective that comes from these guys are actively buying real estate. So these guys don't think that the sky is falling, that real estate's going to, decrease by 20%, or else they wouldn't be actively buying it. As investors, I know you've got some buy and hold stuff, Bob. And that's when I talk to real estate investors, would you buy here? Would you do this? Would you hold in this area? The answer is yes. And I have, and I will, and I am. Right. And so I think it comes off as genuine when you're eating your own dog food, I think is the saying. And so I'd love to just have a conversation because the market's weird, and without getting, too much into it, because I honestly don't like to get too deep and nerdy into debt ceiling and inflation numbers and all the things that can affect mortgage and real estate. Right. But from your perspective, I'm sure you're seeing it once a rehab is complete. The lack of inventory causing, a lot of competition. And so it feels competitive, even though if somebody were to look at stats, they'd say, oh, demand is down. Well, when demand is down, but inventory is also down, it's still going to feel competitive. So what are you guys seeing, for this question, I guess, on the exit when you guys are selling, these properties that most of them, I'm guessing, are at or around the median home price? Yeah.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I think a big part of that is, what price point you're at, right? If you're at that higher price point, that's say 700,000 and higher, I think it's a way different market than if you're under that, right? So your buyer pool is a lot smaller there versus if you're say sub 500,000, your buyer pool is going to be pretty large, right? And more affordable.
I think we've adapted our buy box, right? You hear about the big companies exiting the market and, whatever decisions they made last year. I did get burned on a couple properties. We got one that's sitting right now in the high sevens, 800 range. But really trying to have cookie cutter products and houses with that the buyer pools within 300,000 to 500,000, because that's where most people can afford and where people are looking. We've actually are going to end up doing a lot more projects this year than have in the past. We did 18 about 5 years ago, and probably up to about 18 with the pendings that we have and the pipeline that we have. And most of it's just been a different strategy of not maybe completely dialing up the property and doing everything to where you're going above that 500, 600 range where most buyers are in. So I think that's been something I've been analyzing, where it's hey, if I remodel this entire kitchen, the bathrooms, the electrical, plumbing, the HVAC, if I do everything and it has to be way up here, and then I'm losing people. So what can I do to still make it a good property for the next buyer, but they don't have to break the bank, break their budget, right?
To
So
get there.
Yeah.
finding a new strategy and adopting that has been huge for sure.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of genius, Bob. I got to salute you for that, man. It's like because I'm talking to buyers all day, every day, and as a mortgage broker, I'm on the buy side, and I know the current sentiment for buyers is like affordability is an issue, and it's like if the house isn't perfect, but I can get on the property ladder, I can find something for 450. They want to buy, and they don't necessarily need all the bells and whistles. They just want to stop
Right.
paying $27.50 a month for rent and get into something that they can own. That's cool, man. I'm gonna see. We got good evening from Lakeland, Florida. Just want to see some of the comments. We're live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. These videos will live here forever. If you're watching on replay, leave something in the comments. I'm happy to respond. Whenever I find the comment. If you're watching live, fire away with questions. Bobby and Chad are in Sacramento. Most everything you guys are doing in Sacramento, right? There's no like tertiary markets that you're working in, doing flips in.
Yuba City, Marysville, we're got some stuff in marketing to San Joaquin County, which is south and Stockton areas. Going YOLO, we got one in Woodland right now, and then Yuba and Marysville. So
I love me some Yuba, Marysville, buddy.
Yeah. We got you some units there back in the day. I got a 5.
Yeah, Bobby found me 8 units out there in Marysville. Here's a super fan, Ryan Lundquist. He needs an update on the Curtis Park house. And and the question,
Ryan, what's up, man?
He said, Chad, how many tattoos do you have now? So I mean, these are pressing questions, right?
Growing over the years. It's grown over the years.
His arm looks like that house that we bought in Curtis Park a little bit. It's
you guys bought that one house in Curtis Park. That was,
bro.
Did you see that house on Coleman? There was a gaudy artist, and it went on Zillow. Gone Wild, I think.
I remember that. So you guys bought that? That's not the one you guys have.
In November, I think, closed on it. They started at 800 and picked it up for 500. So I got a good deal on it. It was an odd house, had a lot of stuff going on. It was, I don't say odd, it was very artistic and a lot of great design that some people really cared for. To be honest,
some people.
So Ryan, we ended up just selling it as is. Just another thing is, we just talked about, Matt. It could have been a huge win, a huge home run. It probably would have been now that the market has gone up. But when we acquired it in November, I didn't know what the market was going to do. I know that when you take some walls down, you move some stuff around, you go to design and review, and you're at the mercy. You've dealt with that. I think you did an addition on your house. You're at the mercy of the planning department. And, my experience, that could take up to 4 months, 3-4 months. And I wasn't, sure what the market was going to do. So, we had a good amount of publicity that I purchased the property, and some people, approached me, and I was, it's a beautiful artistic property to some people. And I was like, well, make me an offer. You could take it. I don't need to destroy it. And somebody did. So they bought the property. I made a decent profit. We made a good profit on it. And we probably would have made about $500,000 on that flip, now that the market's gone up and there's no inventory, especially in that area. But we were okay with what we walked away with.
So you guys just did a quick wholesale, just sold it, and then
kind of. We acquired it, we bought it, and then it was actually an agent in my office that really liked where the location. It had a basement, it had a pool, and we made about 75,000 on it.
So they just bought it owner occ. It's not like going to be an Airbnb or nothing.
Yeah, they were gonna go in and gut it and turn it into their own.
It was financeable.
Project.
It was financeable. So that's another thing. It's like, sometimes what you get on MLS, maybe they didn't market it right, or they just wanted to dump it right, and to make it an easier, quicker process. And I made them an offer, and they fell out of escrow twice before I made them the offer at 500. And I knew that the previous buyer was at 600, so I was like, someone wants to pay 6 for it, go for it,
Yeah, sweet, man. Yeah, real estate. There's deals to be had in real estate. I talk to investors all
A
day,
lot of
every
ways
day.
to make money in real estate. I think that's the end of the moral of the story. Whether you're lending, real estate, wholesaling, flipping, buying rentals, things like that.
Cool. Joey Garessi, my buddy out in Oklahoma City. How fire are the 2-1 and 3-2-1 buy downs? They're fire, Joey. The only problem is like for these markets that Bob and Chad are operating in, and for a lot of my buyers, it's so competitive that seller credits are hard to come by. You guys are the right people to ask this question to too, because it's coming up where 3 to 6 months ago, everybody who came to me, I said, let me show you this 2-1 buy down. Let me show you what it looked like with seller concessions. And I'd set it up, here's what it looks like, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5. Now that the market has shifted for sure, in the markets we're operating in, I don't necessarily want to show people that because you might list a property for 480. You guys are going to get 14 offers. No one's going to ask for concessions. They're going to shorten their contingency periods. It's going to be competitive. And so just to get the property, concessions are something that most agents are going to realize they can't ask for. So what's your thought? If you've got a property that's, you guys are like, we want to net 500, and you start at 480, you've got offers. Somebody offers 500, no concessions. I'm like, hey guys, we're going to come in at 515, but we want 15,000 for this buy down. I think I know the answer, but I'll let you guys say it. Like, how much of a disadvantage does that put us at trying to structure it that way?
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with the communication of the agent, right? And how that interaction takes place. So if the one at 515 is offering, that's still a strong solution. What if there's an appraisal gap in there, right? Then that's strengthening it right there. I think they're both doable. Obviously the 500 clean as is clearly better, but I don't know. I think the agent you're working with is huge too. And if they're communicating well and they're putting a gap in place there, or a stopgap, then I think that's something to consider.
Yeah, for sure. It's
But I think
getting
ultimately-
harder. I know I'm privy to some information. So my boy Joey's in contract on one. He's got the 2-1 buy down. He's got the credit. So good on you, Joe. You did well. Not everybody's able to do it. And that's a good point, Chad. It's cool to have these conversations because you learn something. I didn't even think about the fact that, if the appraisal's the concern for writing it with the seller credit, then we just have to, ease those concerns by saying we'll have an appraisal gap, or we'll waive the appraisal contingency, or whatever we need to do. If people really want to structure it with the 2-1 buy down. There's another 2-1 buy down question. What's funny is this thing was all the rage 6 months ago. And like, as of the last, maybe it's that rates just have gone up to close to 7 over the last couple of weeks. That's why people want to talk about 2-1 buy downs again. Shane's got a question here. We got a 2-1 buy down to purchase a home. Curious what you think rates will cool, and so we can refi. I'll answer that. Then the second part of the question, it sounds like he's got a question for you guys. As far as rates, Shane, everything the Fed's doing and talking about seems like higher for longer is probably what we'll see. Anybody who thought the rates would be down this summer, I think that ship sailed with the latest reaction to the latest CPI. Like, it's funny. It was like May 10th, CPI is going to come out. We're going to have this many months of lowered inflation. Rates are going to follow. But then, we had some banking crisis. Without getting into too much nerd detail, like the mortgage-backed securities that are being sold in like $12 billion tranches because of those, like Silicon Valley Bank and whatnot, that's causing rates to be pushed up. And so the Fed, if they do anything, will pause. We'll see rates probably at or near this like 6.5 to 7 level for the next quarter or two. And then maybe by the end of the year, they'll come down eventually, Shane. I just don't know how soon and how much. So I basically answered like a politician. How do rates impact?
The crystal
I
ball,
love it.
like Ryan would say, the crystal ball's been thrown out the window, man. I
Right,
think we all
yeah,
thought
for
rates
sure.
would have came down a little bit by now, but that
Yeah.
has not happened.
The second half of this question is for you guys. How do rates impact your decision making and process buying and flipping homes?
It was huge last year, and now I think it seems that buyers are more comfortable with these higher rates. And honestly,
Doesn't matter.
we don't know though, right? I mean, we know and we don't know, right? There's just not enough sellers out in the market. So if there was more sellers out there, we would feel that there's a lot less demand, right? Where there's some buyers out there and there's some sellers out there, so it's kind of evening out. But the past 90 days, I've really been tracking pendings, and I've always, seen Ryan Lundquist on here, his local stats, and SAR, Sacramento Real Estate Association, they put stuff on there. But I'm tracking pendings every week, so getting a gauge for what that activity level is, and then building my own buyer confidence based on the activity levels, if people actually purchasing properties, and if they're getting in contract, then that means it's a pending. And then if I'm seeing those numbers stay or incline, as we're getting in the spring, we're wrapping up the spring market, but they've certainly been steady lately. So.
And I think too, as long as it's in our buy box, Matt, I don't think it matters, right? If it's there, then we're going to go after it, right? I think we're more conservative right now in our approach and our numbers since the market moved and changed. But I think as long as it's in that box, we're not necessarily concerned. Like Bobby said, I think buyers have grown accustomed knowing that rates are there, right? When they were originally at say 3 or 3.5, and now they're getting quoted 6 or 6.5, they're like, whoa, what's going on? And it stops them, it paralyzes them from moving forward, right? So I think now I don't think that's really the case. And I think as long as it's in that buy box, I think it doesn't really impact us at all.
And I think we all know, like, people are always going to buy homes, right? But they want a home, they want to get a deal these days, right? They want a little bit of a deal. I know like multiple offers is up, but if we can put together a house and a product and whatever, and not go after that top comp, I think that's the big thing, right? Like that top comps for 400,000. Like, we need to be able to put this on the market at 380 or 390, right? And be okay with that. And where previously, flipping properties in the past, like, it was like, well, the last one was 400, we could get 420, no problem.
Yeah, everyone was trying to set records.
It's being more conservative. And if we're in that price range in Sacramento area, right, if you're under 500,000, that is where the most buyer demand is. So that's where we want to start.
I'll confirm what you guys said about buyers. Like, it's soaked in. The higher rates have soaked in, and last August, September is kind of where we crested and went above 6%, and we've seen some up and down since then. But it's been a good 9 months of like, hey, rates have 5s, 6s, and 7s in front of them now. So buyers have had a chance to absorb it and just kind of it is what it is and whatnot. You mentioned Ryan Lundquist, SacramentoAppraisalBlog.com. I put that up on the screen for folks. And
we love you, Ryan.
We got a question from our buddy, Mr. Ryan Lundquist, the man, the myth, the legend. What sort of discount, if any, are you buying with right now when you acquire a flip? Is there a certain number you target in light of market uncertainty?
There definitely is. So I would say the way Bobby and I categorize it, we go on essentially 3 stages. You have a heavy fixer, a medium, and a light, right? So your heavy is, it needs a roof, needs windows, needs HVAC, and needs everything inside. Your medium is essentially needing one of those 3 major items plus the inside. We already know for the most part of what we're buying, everything needs to be done inside. But we have adjusted in what we're doing to those too, right? Do we have to get top dollar in that neighborhood, or can we not do something, lower the price, offload it, make it more affordable for the end consumer? Then we're going to go ahead and do that. And then also, in that price point, are we going to over improve by doing everything, doing bathrooms, kitchens, all of it? Are you now over improving for that neighborhood? And is somebody in that price point willing to pay that? And in a lot of cases, I don't think that they are, right? So for us, that's how we categorize it, and then we base it a percentage of the AVR, the after repair value, on those three categories. And I think too, we're constantly adjusting. You know, we pivoted, you said at the end of last year, beginning of the year, into speed. You know, a couple of projects last year took 6+ months, lost money on them. It was like, hey, how do we get into these homes? How do we really speed the process up, be more organized, put more people on the projects, and get in and out as quick as possible? Because we can somewhat predict, say, 2-3 months out, but can we predict 6, 7, 8 months out? It's a lot harder to do that and gauge what's happening in the market. So for us, it's based on those three areas, but we are constantly shifting and adjusting based on what's going on and what our strategy is.
Yeah. I think, you know, last year when maybe it was like end of the summer or in the fall, it was the regular numbers that we ran plus an extra 10% discount. And essentially we've eliminated that 10% discount now, where we have confidence in the market that if the comps say it's 400,000, that we think we're going to get close to that, versus last fall, it was like, no, we need to base this on 360. Right. And that was hard to acquire properties at that price. We still got some. And that's when it was especially more like, let's just carpet and paint it. I say it like jokingly, like it's almost back to like 2012, 2010, you know, that foreclosure era, like doing the least amount of work worked out better than, you know, completely dialing it up, because time is your enemy always. You know, one, it was the market going down, and two, you know, we buy these with high interest loans, which means that we're paying 10% interest on them. So, you know, every month you hold it, it's eating your profits away, $2,000 to $3,000, maybe more.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great strategy, but then I also think, like, you know, Chad mentioned the end consumer, and what you've said, Bob, is like you guys have thought about and analyzed and seen and got the feedback of, like, you know, the end consumer might want an entry-level house with entry-level finishes, which is carpet, paint, and, you know, a clean and you know, safe place to live.
Urban ready to an extent. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, I'm hearing the same thing on my side, where people understand it's not their forever home. You know, not a lot of people are buying a $400,000 house in Sacramento thinking that's where they're going to retire. And so they get in at that price with the payment that is comfortable. That's the play now versus before. What's the max I qualify for? Granite countertops, all the you know, custom finishes and whatnot.
Like Bob said, right? It's like I think, you know, selling it, say, at 450 versus, hey, if we go in and we take it to the 9s and now it's 500, are they willing to pay that? I don't know. I feel like right now they're not.
Yeah, and then, you know, I've been flipping for 6-7 years, and it's always been like, let's make it the prettiest house on the block, right? Go for that top comp. And now it's like the before and after pictures aren't as sexy as they were today. Like,
the sexy part is the affordability. Like, look at this sexy payment. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Good dial that up. And it's cooler to make money than it is to provide the best house, right? So that's staying.
Well, I mean, if the end consumer doesn't necessarily want the pretty house, because I always tell people too, like, regardless of how finished a home is, they're going to want to do things to it that's them. A funny personal story: the house I currently live in, I saw it go into foreclosure. I saw it got purchased by an investor. I went up to him and said, "Stop doing these finishes. Let's negotiate a price. I'm going to do my own stuff anyway." And that house that I bought in 2017, they did a flip with dark brown flooring that my wife hated, a bunch of stuff that we end up ripping out. Like, over the last 6 years, we've essentially ripped out everything they did and done it ourselves. But they wanted to do all their stuff and then, you know, deliver the finished product they thought was the finished product to the market and then sell it. So it was the right house with the right, you know, floor plan and whatnot. So we bought it anyway, even though I didn't want them to flip it. I wish they would have done less, and I could have paid less, right? Like, I'm the person that you're tailoring your flips to, is like, do less. I want to pay less. I'll figure out the rest of the stuff after I buy it.
Well, I think what you're saying too is, everybody talks about move-in ready homes, right? It's that move-in ready, no matter what it is, isn't the move-in ready that say you and I would choose, or Bobby and his wife would choose, or whoever, right? It's different for everybody. So if you go in and you customize it totally, not everybody's going to be a fan of that. It doesn't matter what's in there. It could be
Right.
what's trendy, but the person that wants to buy the house and is willing to pay for it doesn't necessarily like that, right? So I think everyone's move-in ready is a little bit different.
Yep.
Yeah, like Ryan Lundquist moving ready might be the Curtis Park house, just perfectly dialed in for
Very
him.
true. It would fit his personality for sure.
It was a lot of people's cup of tea, but not mine.
Joey Garessi's got a question about buy and hold. How do you recommend traditional buy and hold landlords get started in short-term rentals? What do you wish you would have known when you started in short-term rental business? You guys got any short-term stuff?
Yeah, I got one. So yeah, I mean, so rental portfolio, we have 35 units. My wife and I, about a 14 unit last year, 5 units. We have some duplexes, triplexes, things like that. And one of the units is more so midterm rental. The portfolio that we have, it was kind of hard to manage. Um, the recurring 3-day turns and things like that. And it's been a little saturated, at least in Sacramento. What I would recommend, and Matt helped me do a couple of these loans, and one of the properties that I'm talking about. My first property was a duplex, and I did, the FHA owner occupied loan, and lived in one side and rented out the other, and that allowed me to start my rental portfolio at only 3% down, and then the one after that. It was another 2 unit, did the same thing. I did it again. And that is one of the properties that actually is being a short-term rental, midterm rental. And then besides that, they've all been like the BRRRR strategy, which is, buy, rehab, repair, refinance, rent out, that whole thing. So
Is that
I think
when you say
short-term
midterm?
rental, what was that?
I was gonna say, is it like travel and nurses or?
No, not as many as you think. I have it on a Furnish Finder, which is a travel nurse site, and then just Airbnb. But Airbnb, it is next to the hospitals over here, like UC Davis. It's in North Oak Park area. So for 2 years, like it was really popular. I was getting like 4,300 a month, even for midterm rental. And then really the past year, it's just demand has gone down, and I'm probably renting it out for about 2,800 or so. But it's all, because it's near hospital. Frankly, it's family members sometimes renting there because they have someone that's going through treatment or something like that at the hospital. It could be just people selling their house and they're in between housing and they gotta find something short term. People traveling for work. So honestly, probably 15%, maybe 20% of it's been traveling nurses, even though it's 2 blocks from UC Davis. I've always found that a little odd.
Yeah, my 2 cents of advice for somebody who, like, all mine are long-term rentals, so none of them are short-term rentals. You guys can, agree or disagree, but I feel like the shorter term, the rental, like you talked about, like the 3-day stuff's a lot to manage. And then, it's different when you got it turning 30, 60, 90 days. But like the shorter term it is, the more work it is. So if you're looking for like passive real estate investing, then it's, a long-term rental with a property manager. And I can literally talk, for 9 minutes a month to the property managers in Marysville. And
That's only because we have the best property manager in Marysville. I love Jay, and all my other property managers I talk to way too frequently. But Jay, I didn't talk to him for like 4 months. I'm like, is everything okay? He's like, yeah, it's going good. You're getting.
I book it on my calendar now, where it's like once a month. It's between 5 and 9 minutes, and that's the total amount of work I got to do. You better not blow it up though, Bob. We don't want him getting too busy for us.
I know that's when he was
Too busy.
He's already got like 400 units, man. They got a good operation.
Yeah, while you guys are out there scouting for properties, find me like an 8 to 20 unit out in Yuba City or Marysville, and if it's nasty, I'll let you guys do the work. And
I think the emphasis now is like I have a good portfolio for, I guess, us, and now it is a lot of work to manage all these properties, raise the money, take care of repairs. So future projects like that will be more like a syndication type is definitely what I'm going to be looking for, which is pulling money together and going in on stuff just so you have more people involved. So it's less of a burden just on one person making the financial decisions.
Yeah. I'm curious, just out of curiosity too, like, as far as your guys's like future plans, is it, you know, as they come across, I know it's like one might be wholesaled, one might be flipped, and you guys kind of figure out the best exit plan based on the property. Are you guys holding any of the current stuff you're coming across?
No, we haven't.
No, and I mean, frankly, rates certainly affect that, right? Like and I think it depends on the position you could be in your career, where I feel like I have accumulated quite a few the past 6 years, and I'm fortunate that happened and that they're under like 4% rates. Like everything's at like 3.5, 3.25, whatever. Um, but the bigger play that I tell a lot of people, right, is the tax benefits, right? Like if you purchase that property and you put a lot of money into it, you have the ability to do like what's called a cost segregation analysis and get huge write-offs. So the past few years, I've been able to have some really significant write-offs on my taxes. That's been the big plus. But this year, we've tripled, quadrupled down on marketing and just want to do more deals and have more active income and more cash flow. And then I think kind of reevaluate buying the 14 unit apartment last year and the few properties before that were big projects. I think just wanted to have some peace when it comes to rehabbing properties with tenants in them and not dealing with the turns and upgrades on those properties. So that's been kind of the emphasis more so right now, just wholesaling and flipping, really.
Yeah. Sounds like dialed in on your buy box, know what you want. So just, you know, get that in front of more people and more marketing and find more of those and flip them. I think you guys are onto something too. I as much as I'm in and around real estate and talking to buyers, I haven't heard it kind of how you guys have said it today, where, you know, you're putting a more affordable product out there. And that's kind of the goal, because that's what the need is. In today's current market is people don't need the nicest house on the block. They need something that they can afford to own something on the block and not be renting anymore. So that's good stuff, man. Let me see if I can grab a couple more questions here. Sharon Barber, good to see you. You just put an F there. I think Sharon's going to buy something in Texas. Joey Garessi, I'll say this about buy downs: have to be the right seller. I aim for the moon on a previous offer. The sellers laughed it off. Yeah. It's definitely got to be the right seller. And, you know, there's still going to be properties, you know, depending on price point, depending on location, that if they've been on the market for 27 days, I mean, more game for an offer with seller concessions. But something that's priced correctly and comes out for $479 and it's been on the market for a day, they're probably going to get a lot of offers and not have to worry about concessions and appraisal coming in and that other stuff. If I put 50 to 60% down, will it lower my interest rate? A little bit, not as much as you think.
There's a huge misconception about rates, right? Everybody thinks if they're putting huge down payments down that their interest rate's going to drop by a full 1% or 2%.
Right. Yeah. It's like, oh no, I'm putting down 30%. So my rate's 4.99, right? There's a lot of misconceptions about real estate. This is probably too short of a podcast to even get into all of that stuff. But where can guys, are you guys, you guys have a website or something I can direct people to as far as like if they run across a property that might be a good fit for you guys? Or tell me again what the buy box is.
Kind of anything, man. One way or another, like we're able to acquire and figure if it's us or another buyer for it. But I mean, still looking at multifamily properties. Like if the right deal comes across, for sure we'll pick it up. There's some cases where we're doing seller financing, right? Where maybe that has doesn't have as deep of a discount. But the buy box for the most part is anywhere from 70% of after repair value, 50 to 70%. And that really depends on what the amount of the rehab is. And that, So if the property's worth 400,000, 70% of that would be 280. So that's kind of where, our buy box. And at 280, right, there's costs to acquire it, there's costs to rehab it, and then, you got to make a profit in there too.
You have your
And what do you
holding
guys,
costs.
when you guys market to, are you guys finding like, grandma passed away, heirs don't want to deal with the property, they're selling it to you, or somebody moved across the country? Well, I'm just genuinely curious too. Like, what's the average seller look like?
It's it's tough. They're tough situations, right? You don't have a distressed property where everything's just fine. Somebody's going through stuff, man. And the other thing is you gotta be really conscious of that and be compassionate towards that, right? You have deaths in the family, you have mental health issues, you have drug issues, addiction issues, hoarding issues. And typically that all falls into like something else. There's a reason why they're getting there, right? And it's heartbreaking. Like, and I think what Bobby and I try to do and we talk about is leaving them in a better position than we found them, no matter how they came to us, and ultimately listening to them, right? But they're all tough situations. There's nobody really that's like, hey, I got this house, I just want to sell it, I'm totally fine.
Yeah.
It's very rare, right? There's something going on. Like I said, a death in the family. It's difficult for the people to process, especially with death, like going through that stuff, right? Whether it's going through the contents of the home, going through the process of selling it, they don't want to deal with it. They just want to offload it and move on to the next chapter in their life. So,
but I would say about 50% of the properties tend to be inherited, trust, probate, something like that.
Yeah.
And then I was just looking at the board, like a couple were evictions, right? In California, it takes 6 months to evict somebody. So they don't get paid for a while. Like, they definitely want to offload the property, maybe not wait for that process to ride out. One was a couple were foreclosures, tax lien, really a variation of things, but on average, majority of them are inherited properties for sure.
Cool. Where do people get a hold of you guys if they got something they want to run by you, or they come across a property? Or
yeah, the website's bjpproperties.com. And then our Instagram handles, we are always have some tips and tricks for walking through properties. We're showing the befores and afters and the progress of them. Mine's Bobby Flips Homes, and
mine's just chad.focht, Focht.
cool. I'll make sure I leave those in the notes here on.
I think our cell phone numbers too. Obviously, reaching out to us, texting us, calling us. Walking through what's going on, and then that way we can figure out how to put a solution in place. It's not always just a cash offer, right? It's how can we help you get to that better place? It involves people helping them move. It's really not just about the cash offer, but how do we help them get to that next place? So figuring out what their needs are and then tailoring that offer to what their needs are.
Yeah. And I hear exactly what you're saying, Chad, where, dealing with real estate and dealing with human beings, I get a lot of divorce stuff. I get a lot of, family members, fighting, and it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Right. And I'm sure, even more so in your world, that would, distressed property generally equals distressed homeowner in some sense. Right. And so, I love it. You guys are out there, finding solutions for people that are in a tough spot. And then at the end of that, delivering a product that's an affordable product for no doubt, the buyers that I'm working with, a lot of first-time home buyers at that price point that are having a trouble finding stuff. So continue to find properties you can deliver to the market. We need more inventory for sure. Thanks for your time. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks for having us on, man.
Hey,
yeah, for sure.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Got to do lunch soon. Later, guys.